So, the other night, I went to try to watch Star Wars The Acolyte, and I was very, very surprised by something in Star Wars The Acolyte. But first of all, let me explain a little bit of the context behind this video. I figured originally I had no interest whatsoever in watching The Acolyte. I didn't even care to finish a trailer, but it has been a part of the conversation so much. I figure, should I watch a little bit of it, like just to know like what it is, so I can talk about it a bit more accurately? Is it really as bad as people are saying? Is it really warranting of all of this firestorm? And so I thought I just don't want to go back to the beginning and watch the entire thing though. So it's like I'll jump on board and watch one episode. I'll watch the episode that's coming on tonight. Especially I was hearing some crazy things about the episode. So I'm like, okay, I'll sit down and I'll watch the episode of The Acolyte tonight and I'll see what it's like. If I'm just popping in here, I know a bit of the general premise and I'll see how it goes. And boy, was I in for a surprise. Okay, a little bit more context here. So, since I've been talking about The Acolyte, the algorithm on my social media has been pushing things in my feed. And I noticed after I did the video about how everyone hates The Acolyte and everyone seems unified against it, I just started getting a ton of tweets shoved in my feed about how much people love The Acolyte and fighting against the haters. And I feel like some of that was maybe, I don't know, Disney trying to push back about against the negativity, because I'm like, I didn't see any of this before I made that video, before those kinds of videos were coming out. And now I'm seeing a ton of Acolyte defense all of a sudden where it wasn't before. Where is that coming from? I wondered if it is Disney trying to combat that. And anyway, in a lot of that, I started to just get all these thirst posts for this character named Yord in it. And it really, really pushed at me. And some of them are from accounts that I know are real, but I'm like, boy, they're really, really pushing this character hard at you. They're really, really pushing that they want you to think that this character is attractive and all of that. And I'm like, it's really being pushed really, really hard at me. So I turned on The Acolyte, and it was quite an opportune episode to turn it on. And then this scene happens where the main character, Osha, is following this Sith guy, and she's going to try to kill him, apparently. And wouldn't you know it, she follows him to where he's going to take a bath in a lake. And we get to see him disrobe, and they don't show anything critical in this, but she watches him disrobe, and she watches him go to take a bath, and she goes to steal his lightsaber, and she gets it, but he comes back, and then it's so awkward. He turns around, and she's like taking it back because, is she gonna kill him? But he's so attractive, and he's in this lake, and the dialogue is so weird then, because he's talking about the dark side here, but he's like, if you won't join me, I'd like to put on my clothes. And I'm just like, oh, who wrote this? And he like slowly comes out of the lake, and you don't see anything, but you know what the main character is seeing. And it's like this really, really charged scene, and she's like looking up at his face and looking down, and it's like, gross. Is this okay? Oh boy. Okay. First of all, I'm just like, is this Star Wars? Like, I'm not used to seeing this kind of stuff in Star Wars. Is this a kid show? This is one of the problems that I've been having with Disney Plus lately, and that other people I've talked to have been having, that Disney Plus doesn't, like, they've been really experimenting with these shows like Acolyte, She-Hulk, X-Men 97, where they've been trying to push the boundaries on this stuff. But it's like, one minute they'll release a show like Miss Marvel that is really, really kid-friendly, and in fact so kid-friendly that maybe adults can't enjoy it. The next they'll release something like She-Hulk that is really, or at least comparatively raunchy and aimed more for adults. And like X-Men 97, episode 4 was really kid-friendly, episode 5 was not at all. And it's like, you need to decide who your audience is for, because they just kind of release anything on Disney Plus and you never know what you're getting. Like, I'm not saying that this is the worst thing that's ever happened, but it does bring up the question, and people have different standards for their kids, of course, but it just brings up the question, why is there just like no understanding about what is what, who is this for? It is Disney Plus striving to be the family channel or not? And they already have a place where you can go and get R-rated content in their app, so why are they crossing it over so much? That is just it's just strange to me. It's something that needs to be fixed with Disney, that they need to make it clear, like, this is for adults, this is for kids, this is for teenagers, rather than just sort of mixing them all up in their content. But anyway, this scene, super cringe scene, super awkward. They just really want you to think that this Sith guy with his shirt off and as he's putting back on his clothes, they really want you to think that he's attractive after he just killed all these Jedi, after he just choked this girl. And you know what it is? It's Kylo and Rey all over again. You've got the Sith guy who is evil, but he's supposed to be super hot. You know, the awkward scene of them by the lake when he's trying to take a bath is just like the scene where Rey gets on a Skype call with Kylo and he's shirtless, and it's just so awkward and cringeworthy because you know just how much they want you to think that this guy is just super attractive in the midst of breaking the tone of seriousness that the series is trying to have. But it's Kylo and Rey all over again in more ways than one, because then the scene goes on, the episode goes on, and it's about this guy, Yord, trying to seduce Osha to the dark side. He is trying to get her to unlock her true power. He's trying to tell her that the Jedi have lied to her and that he has found his own pathway, and he has this shark helmet that he wears to help him. And it's like, this is just Kylo Ren and Osha is just Rey. That is the exact same dynamic, and they're even on the planet with the island that Luke was on. It is the Last Jedi all over again. And a few things. First of all, Reylo is not something that I would want to come back. I get it. Enemies to lovers, all that. The reason why people had a problem with Reylo is the whole thing started by a fanship. And the reason why that fanship seemed a bit troublesome is because at the time, all people had to go on with the relationship between Kylo and Rey was scenes of him capturing her and trying to get information out of her. Not really the best foundation for a romantic relationship, so people thought it was kind of odd that people were shipping them so much. But let me tell you, The Last Jedi, the one part that I thought was interesting and was a good idea was the idea of Kylo and Rey forming this alliance where they want to be separate from the dark side and the light side of the Force. That was interesting, and they didn't fall through with it at all. They just made Rey leave him again. So going back, like, with this episode, like, potentially, there is an intrigue there that they could actually follow through on, but I'm like, the Force is just so messed up now in what the rules are and where it could go. I'm not sure that they could pay this off with anything. And also, I'm like, you're not doing anything new. This is just carbon copy Kylo and Rey all over again. And why are they doing that? Well, I will give you this, because I have been fighting against the idea that Star Wars has been, people keep saying, oh, Star Wars is a girl's brand now, and I'm like, there's nothing here that is remotely appealing to a woman. They obviously are trying to appeal to a female crowd with this relationship and this whole shipping thing. But the problem is, first of all, Reylo was a cringe ship to begin with. It did not work out. It got even more awkward when you got into The Rise of Skywalker and that awful kiss scene and Rey calling herself a Skywalker at the end, so she's like adopted into that family or whatever. I don't know. Reylo is an awful ship. It doesn't need to come back. And to watch this episode, like, right after this guy has killed so many people she knew and attacked her, and now they're going to be getting into a romance. But that is the exact same way it was with Reylo. And so it's like you're taking the same bad ship and you're translating it into the Acolyte. And I'm like, with Disney, we couldn't get Starboy and Asha when it came to Wish, but we can get a second carbon copy of Reylo. It's like we can have the worst ship possible. I'm all for bringing romance back into these things, you know, but not like this. Not like this. This is just so cringe, and it is so awkward to watch all over again. But and it's like what I was also saying in a video I did recently about how when they know people are going to hate it, but they do it anyway. Like, we're going back to The Last Jedi. We're going back to the island from The Last Jedi that Luke was character assassinated. We're going back to Reylo again. And it's like, you know, people don't want this. You know, that has been my whole thing, is that with Star Wars, there's been a couple moments where it felt like they at least were trying to get back on track to what fans wanted, but they just kept going back to the sequels, and that's what they're doing with this. And like, you need to let go of those sequels. They were the biggest failures ever, and they are the reason why people don't like Star Wars anymore. Now, to answer the question I had at the beginning of this thing, is the Acolyte as worthy of the hate as it's been giving? Is it the worst thing that I've ever seen? Is it so bad? And my answer is yes and no, because yes, all of this stuff with Raylo 2.0 is bad. But at the same time, there was nothing in this that I really think isn't par for the course for Disney Star Wars, including the awkward bathing scene, like, reminiscent of the awkward shower scene from Solo. Like, that's just stuff that's been injected into Star Wars lately. And so the rest of the episode, apart from this stuff with Osha and Yord, which honestly is like 5 to 7 minutes of content at best, everything else was really slow and meandering. It just felt like moving the characters from point A to point B. At least characters aren't putting massive pauses in between their sentences as they did with Ahsoka. That was a plus. You could tell how some of the editing and the side wipes and all of that was trying to be reminiscent of Lucas Star Wars, and it looked nice. I'll give them that. But the acting was not good. I thought that Amanda Stenberg, I enjoyed her when she played Rue in Hunger Games, but here I thought that her performance was really stiff and awkward, and really everyone was, except for the man from Squid Game. Cannot remember his name. I apologize. Who plays the Jedi Master. He was the only person who I thought was really giving a good performance. So yeah, awkward acting, and the rest of it I think is just par for the course for Disney Star Wars. But I think the reason why there's so much controversy is, first of all, there are things in this show that I am aware break the lore of Star Wars, but I also just think people have had enough of this kind of thing, and that this is the show that it is all being taken out on. But definitely bringing back this whole Raylo bad shipping stuff. I just said I hate bad ships destroying things. It is just cringe. It is just ridiculous. And yes, women like romance, but you don't have to. You can have a good romance. You don't have to have this weird, this guy who kills people and choked me is super hot. So and he wants me to unlock my true power. So I'm gonna get together with him. Like, at least come up with a new idea if you're gonna finally do a romance again. You don't have to copy Kylo and Rey all over again. Like, we don't need to revisit that. That was like 5-7 years ago. We didn't need to go back to that. So, yeah, The Acolyte is a bad show. I do think that it is a show that is taking the brunt of all of people's frustrations for Star Wars, rather than being any, apart from episode 3, I suppose. But this episode, I'm like, this is what Disney Star Wars is, and people say, well, it doesn't feel like Star Wars, and I'm like, yeah, Disney Star Wars hasn't felt like Star Wars since the end of Rogue One or something. So I'm not really shocked by anything on that level in the episode, and but I definitely understand why this show is getting the hate that it is. And they just so need to move on from this stuff and all of this Raylo nonsense. I can't believe that they're going there with that again. Yeah, but I don't think that I'll watch anymore. I mean, maybe I'll watch a little bit more, because I'm just curious, like, how bad is it gonna get with this relationship that they're doing? But I think that is all I've got for you guys today. I make and edit these videos all by myself. I'm not sure if I'll do a lot of editing on this one. I think it's good as just a little rant. But if you want to support me on Patreon, as these other wonderful folks have done, you can check out the link in the description below. And as always, like and subscribe, and I'll have more videos out for you in the near future. And I will see you guys next time.